Man is condemned to be free, because once thrown into the world, he is responsible for everything he does. Jean-Paul Sartre didn't whisper this idea. He unleashed it. He suggested that the one thing we believe we crave most, total, absolute freedom, is not a gift, but a life sentence. A burden so heavy that most of us will do anything to escape it, even if it means living a lie. Think about your own life. That feeling of paralysis when you have too many options. What career should I choose? Which city should I live in? Am I with the right person? We call it overthinking, but Sartre called it anguish. The dizzying realization that every choice you make is not just a choice. It's a declaration of what you believe a human being should be. There's no blueprint, no divine plan, no instruction manual. There's just you, standing at the edge of an infinite void, and you have to choose. This freedom is so terrifying, so absolute, that most people spend their lives running from it. They construct elaborate prisons of routine, religion, and social roles, pretending they aren't the architects of their own cage. They don't want freedom, they want an escape from the burden of it. But what if you stop running? What if you turned around and faced the abyss? That is where life truly begins. For centuries, humanity lived with a certain comfort. The comfort of a pre-written story. Your role in life was assigned by God, by your king, by your family, by your village. The path was narrow, but it was clear. There was a divine purpose, a cosmic order, a set of rules that told you who you were, what to do, and where you were going. This framework, whether you called it God, fate, or destiny, acted as a psychological safety net. It protected you from the terrifying abyss of meaninglessness. But then, the modern world began to chip away at that foundation. Science started explaining the universe without needing a creator. Philosophy began questioning the absolute nature of morality. Society started celebrating the individual, not the collective. And in the middle of this seismic shift, Jean-Paul Sartre stood up and declared that the safety net was gone forever. We were, for the first time in history, truly, terrifyingly alone with our own choices. This is the heart of his most famous statement. Existence precedes essence. What does this mean? For thousands of years, we believed our essence, our purpose, our nature, our soul, was created first, by a god or a cosmic plan, and then we came into existence to fulfill it. A knife is created with the essence of cutting. A chair is created with the essence of being sat on. But a human? Sartre argued we are born with nothing. We are just a blank slate, a consciousness thrown into the world. Our existence comes first. Only after we exist, through the choices we make, do we create our own essence. You are not born a hero, a coward, a leader, or a victim. You become one, choice by choice, action by action. There is no pre-written script. You are the author, the actor, and the audience of your own life, all at once. And while this sounds liberating, Sartre saw the terror in it. If you are the sole author, then you are solely responsible for the story. There's no one else to blame. Not your parents, not your past, not society, and certainly not God. This radical freedom, this complete and total responsibility, is what Sartre called the condemnation. We are condemned to be free. We are forced to choose, and in choosing, we are forced to invent our own humanity. Every second of every day, you are defining what it means to be you. That is a weight so immense that it produces a constant, underlying feeling of anxiety, of being on a cliff edge with no railings. Sartre called this feeling anguish. Anguish is the dizziness of freedom. It's the realization that you could, at any moment, choose to do anything. You could quit your job, leave your family, change your identity, and nothing is stopping you except your own decision. This realization is so unsettling that most people immediately run from it. They find ways to pretend they are not free. They invent excuses, create roles, and lie to themselves in a desperate attempt to escape the burden of their own existence. This escape, this self-deception, has a name in Sartre's philosophy: bad faith. Most of us live in a state of bad faith without even realizing it. It's the silent, subtle ways we convince ourselves that we are not in control, that our choices are not our own. Bad faith is the act of pretending you are an object, a thing with a fixed nature rather than a free, conscious being. It is the ultimate escape from the anguish of freedom, a psychological trick we play on ourselves to feel safe in a universe that offers no inherent safety. One of the most common forms of bad faith is playing a role. Think of the waiter who is so completely a waiter. His movements are a little too sharp, his voice a little too light. He is not just doing a job, he has become the job. Sartre argues that this waiter is lying to himself. He is pretending that his essence is to be a waiter, as if he were a chair whose essence is to be sat on. He does this to escape the terrifying freedom of knowing he could, at any moment, throw the tray down and walk away. He is hiding in his role. We all do this. I can't do that. I'm a mother. I have to be serious. I'm a lawyer. I'm just a shy person. These are not statements of fact. They are declarations of bad faith. They are attempts to solidify ourselves into a fixed identity to avoid the responsibility of choosing who to be in the next moment. We use our jobs, our personalities, our social labels as excuses to stop choosing, to stop being free. Another form of bad faith is blaming our circumstances. I had no choice. My past made me this way. Society forced me to do it. Sartre would call this a lie. He argues that our past, our situation, our environment, what he calls our facticity, is real. It provides the context for our choices, but it never removes the choice itself. You may be born into poverty, but you choose how to respond to it. You may have been hurt in the past, but you choose whether to let that pain define you today. To blame your circumstances is to pretend you are a thing, a rock that is simply pushed around by external forces. But you are not a rock. You are a consciousness, and at every moment you are choosing. To deny this is to live in bad faith, to willingly surrender the very freedom that defines your humanity. You do it to feel less responsible, to feel less anguish, but in doing so, you give up the chance to be truly alive. This is the psychological prison most people live in. A prison built of their own excuses, their social roles, and their fear of freedom. They walk around as if they are following a script, never realizing they are the ones who could, at any moment, set the script on fire. This brings us to the story of a man named Alex, a man who lived his entire life in bad faith, until the day the prison walls finally became visible. Alex was the epitome of a life well lived, at least on the surface. He had followed the script to perfection. He'd gotten good grades, gone to a good university, and secured a stable, respectable job in finance. He married his college sweetheart, bought a house in the suburbs, and had 2 beautiful children. He did everything he was supposed to do. His parents were proud. His friends were envious. He was, by all societal metrics, a success. But every morning, as Alex stood in front of the mirror, knotting his tie, a quiet, cold dread would wash over him. He felt like an actor playing a role. The confident professional, the loving husband, the patient father. It was all a performance. He would smile at meetings, laugh at his boss's jokes, and listen to his wife talk about their weekend plans. All while, a voice inside him screamed, "Who is this? This isn't you." He was living in a state of profound bad faith, but he didn't have the words for it. He had never chosen this life. He had simply accepted it. He studied finance because his father said it was a safe career. He got married because it was the next logical step. He bought the house because that's what successful people do. Each decision was a small act of surrender, a tiny step away from his own freedom and toward the comfort of a pre-approved path. He was hiding from the anguish of choice by pretending there was no choice to be made. The crisis came on his 35th birthday. His wife threw him a surprise party. All his friends and family were there, singing, laughing, celebrating the man they thought he was. And as Alex looked around at the smiling faces, the perfect cake, the life he had built, he wasn't filled with joy. He was filled with a suffocating sense of alienation. He excused himself, went into the bathroom, and stared at his own reflection. But he couldn't recognize the person looking back. The mask had become his face. That night, the anguish hit him, the full, terrifying weight of his freedom. He realized he was living a lie, a comfortable, well-decorated lie, but a lie nonetheless. He had two choices. He could continue in bad faith, buy a faster car, have a secret affair, blame his unhappiness on his wife, anything to numb the void. Or he could do something far more terrifying. He could embrace his freedom. He could take responsibility. He could choose to be authentic. Authenticity, in Sartre's world, is not about being yourself in a fluffy, inspirational quote sense. It is a rigorous, painful, and constant process of choosing to live in alignment with your radical freedom. It is the opposite of bad faith. It is the act of taking full, terrifying responsibility for your own existence, without excuses, without masks, and without a safety net. It's about looking into the abyss and not running away. For Alex, this meant dismantling his entire life. It started with a small, terrifying act of honesty. He told his wife, "I'm not happy." That one sentence cracked the foundation of his carefully constructed world. It led to difficult conversations, tears, and uncertainty. He then quit his job in finance, a decision that his family called insane. He enrolled in an art class, something he had loved as a child, but had been told was not a real career. Every step was filled with anguish, the fear of failure, the guilt of hurting his family, the terror of the unknown. There was no guarantee of success or happiness, but for the first time in his life, his choices felt real. They were his. He was no longer playing a role. He was writing his own script, line by painful, liberating line. This is what Sartre meant by creating your own essence. Alex was not discovering his true self. He was inventing it. Authenticity is not a destination. It's a constant struggle. It's the daily choice to face your freedom rather than hide from it. It's choosing to create meaning rather than waiting for it to be given to you. It's the understanding that you are the only one who can define your life, and that power, while terrifying, is also the source of all dignity and purpose. It is the acceptance that you are the result of your choices, and nothing more. The world will not celebrate your authenticity. It will often resist it. When you stop playing your assigned role, people will get uncomfortable. They will call you selfish, reckless, or strange. They will try to pull you back into the collective bad faith because your freedom reminds them of their own prison. But the authentic person does not live for the approval of others. They live in alignment with their own truth, a truth they have forged in the fire of their own anguish. So, we stand where we began, at the edge of the abyss, condemned to be free. You can spend your life running from this truth, building walls of excuses and roles, living in the gray comfort of bad faith. You can pretend you are not the author, that the ink is not on your hands. Millions do. They live and die as characters in a story someone else wrote for them, never tasting the terrifying, exhilarating reality of their own freedom. Or you can take the leap. You can embrace the anguish, accept the responsibility, and begin the difficult work of creating yourself. It will be the hardest thing you ever do. It will be lonely. It will be painful. There are no guarantees. But it is the only way to be truly alive. The choice, as always, is yours. Every moment is a new choice. Every breath is an opportunity to live in truth or in fiction. Sartre did not give us an answer. He gave us a question. And that question is, now that you know you are free, what will you do?